Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Let It Be. It came to me when I took a walk the other day. I had left my apartment and I was really upset. I've been having this issue with one of my really close friends. There was a misunderstanding between us. And as I left my house, that's all I was thinking about. I don't even remember walking out the door or walking down the steps because my mind was totally filled with thinking about my relationship with this woman. And I walked 2 circles around the fountain in Washington Square Park. And the third time, I looked up and I noticed there were 2 people getting married. Beautiful young bride and a very handsome groom. It was one of the most beautiful sights I had seen in a really long time. And I realized at that moment that they were there when I walked into the park. But because I was so consumed with my thoughts that I wasn't present, I wasn't grounded, and I had no awareness of the things that were going on around me. And this happens to us a lot, where we have a problem, we have something on our mind, and we take it wherever we go. Because we think if we think about it enough, we're going to solve it. But what we don't realize is that often all we're doing is shutting down to the moment, not realizing what's happening in front of us, and giving all our energy to one problem or the future, and not giving our energy to the one place that life really happens in this moment. So as I continued to walk in the park, I became really aware of this pattern. I think I'm so present all the time, but as I was walking and very aware of where my thoughts were going, I started to think about my friend again. And then I caught myself again. And I said, oh, thoughts, thinking. Let it be. Where are you now? And I looked up and there was a beautiful tree in front of me. And I took this really deep breath. And there I was. I felt so alive in that moment. I've probably passed that tree so many times and I never even noticed it. And as I continued to walk, as I was present, I saw the people in the park. I felt the breeze. I smiled. I felt grounded. And as my thoughts of the future continued, my thoughts of problems continued, I lost that sense. I lost the awareness. I lost that feeling of being alive. And it kept coming back to me, this phrase, let it be. And as I kept saying that, I slowly came back to the moment each time. And eventually, as I stuck to my breathing, and I felt my feet moving, and I felt that idea in my head, let it be, let it be, let it be, I was able to stay present on my walk. And by the end of that 45-minute walk, I felt really invigorated and really centered for the first time in a couple of days. And I share this story because this is what many of us do every day. We obsess about our problems because we believe if we could just solve them, then we'd have peace, then we'd have harmony, then we'd have happiness. But we often forget that there's just another problem probably sitting behind that problem, waiting for us. And yes, some of our problems are bigger and some of them are smaller. But there's no peace in thinking that we could just solve all our problems and then rest. There's a balance that we have to find. Because if we don't find it, we're going to miss out on the moment in front of us. And it's not just that moment to experience, it's also that moment to create. We're also missing a moment of opportunity and possibility. Sometimes in life, you're missing a new relationship, you're missing a new business opportunity, you're missing a new idea because you're so busy thinking you could think your way out of all your misery and all your problems and all the things that are worrying you. But the truth is that we become the greatest problem solvers when we become present. When we allow ourselves to be so connected to what is in this moment, we connect to our power cord. We connect to everything that's possible. And it's hard sometimes to put down the things that are so meaningful to us, that we want to solve, that we want to make better. And yes, we have to do the best we can. If there's something we could do in the moment to make that change, to make things better, of course, we must act. But a lot of times we are just overthinking in our mind about things to come, about things that can't be solved in this moment. And if we just give it the space, often what we need to do comes to us. So how can we do this? One of the best ways, I think, for us to do this exercise is by walking. My hope eventually is that you'll be able to do it while you're working, while you're with your kids, while you're out doing anything. But when you're walking, there's just you and your surroundings. You and the possibility to see a park or a tree or hear a bird. You have the right environment just to let everything be. And then watch your thoughts. Watch what you're thinking about. Are you trying to solve a problem? Are you over obsessing about a relationship? Are you thinking about a memory? Allow it. Name it. Thought. And then say the words, let it be. And take a deep breath and see what's going on around you. Sometimes during my walk, I also thought about walking. I am walking. I am breathing. I am here. That was also very powerful to keep saying, I am here. I am here now. So try that. Try different mantras. Let it be. I am here. I am walking. And see what you feel. See how you feel when you're not burdened by everything you think you need to solve. You need to work out in that moment. And if a beautiful, wonderful idea comes to you in that moment, write it down. Always have a pen and paper or put it on your phone and then go back to your walk. But allow yourself some space to feel yourself, to feel life as it's happening. I know I always say this, but the moment is the new beginning. And sometimes the things we're thinking about resolve themselves on their own. Sometimes they take a long time and we can only know each moment what we'll do next. And sometimes something new comes into our lives and that thing that seems so important doesn't even matter anymore. But where are we going to put our minds and our energy and our intention when we remind ourselves to let it be for this moment and ask where we are and go back to our breath and go back to our walk and go back to the present and go back to the exact place that we are in this moment? We're going to have a totally different experience. Yes, we have to allow our thoughts to come and go and we have to allow our feelings, but we do have the ability to choose things or use mantras and become very aware of where we actually are in this moment. And again, like I said, there'll always be something to worry about if we choose. But there's this perspective that the moment gives us, this peace, this beauty, this beginning, this groundedness, this feeling so alive that we have the strength to face this moment. And if whatever we're worrying about happens, then we'll face it in that moment. And that's the thing too, it's so anxiety provoking to try to solve a problem that doesn't exist yet, or to try to solve a problem that doesn't have a resolution yet. There's a way that we could show up for life and show up for these problems and not lose ourselves and not become so weak and so vulnerable to the life outside of ourselves. And the only way is to watch where we are in this moment. We know we could let it be. We know uncertainty is our best friend because we want our life to change. It has to happen in the unknown. So there's no reason to give up. But there's also no reason to sit in the moment obsessing about all the things that will be when there's a moment waiting for you right here. To watch two people get married, to feel the breeze, but to also see the new opportunities that are in your life. So let's not allow one problem to overwhelm us. See, again, in this moment, if you could just let it be as it is and feel that peace and feel that opening. And after you master this on a walk, then you could do it while you work. Look where your mind is and look what's in front of you. Keep bringing yourself back to this moment. What do you need to handle now? And what could you let be? And hold hope in your heart. We want to be strong, we want to be resilient, but we want to be so present so we could see what's happening in front of us. And say, I am ready for this moment. I am ready for new possibilities. I am ready for new opportunities. Because I know maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you could subscribe and leave a comment.